Everyone yields back. Mr. King, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to also like to express my sympathies to the families of Ken Spearman. We had a terrific conversation just a little over a year ago in my office the day before the hearing here, and I look back on those times fondly, and I appreciate the service of all of you and the credit services that are there and have been for a long time. I have lived through the 80s farm crisis and the years hence, and I think I've got a feel and a flow for what's happened within the farm credit system, the banking system, and the stresses that come with trade, as was just mentioned, and other factors. But I wanted to go back and mention a couple of things that are part of those memories. One of them is a hearing here in June 25th of 2014, when I had an exchange then with Dr. Long Thompson, seated in your seat, I believe, Mr. Tonsinger, and we had the discussion about who writes the mission statement for the Farm Credit, and the answer was, it would be, her answer was, that would be the board of the Farm Credit Administration. And so then I asked and who approves it? And it came back pretty much the same people that wrote it. And so that was always on my mind. Sure. And then when we had this discussion in December 2nd of 2015, this was with Mr. Spearman, and I asked a similar question, and I said, what about who makes sure that you stay within the bounds of the mission statement? And his answer was that you receive legal guidance from the attorneys, and I think you referenced that in this testimony today, and that Farm Credit Administration then follows the guidance of the legal team, pretty much what I heard here today. And you referenced 6 instances where there was concern that you had at least had the applications to go outside the bounds of the mission statement. Could you identify what those 6 were, or give us a sense of the scope of those 6 that you referenced?
We could certainly provide you with the information. I don't have it right in front of me to be able to list the 6, of course.
Okay, and the status of the Verizon loans that were part of our discussion here over the last few years, can you tell us what they are now?
It's my belief that there are no longer any loans held by the system on that.
Yeah, and that's my understanding too, and I appreciate that, and I see that as perhaps a direct reaction to Congress's concern about the expansion of the mission statement. And so then I look at that mission statement that was the subject of our discussions in the 2 previous hearings that I mentioned, and I really don't have a lot of heartburn when I read the mission statement. It's more concern about how we stay within those definitions. I think these hearings have helped define those definitions, and yet I thought it would be a good idea to go back and look at the mission statement again, and I find that it doesn't look the same as the one we were discussing in those previous years. And so it seems to be apparent that you've written a new mission statement. And when I look at that new mission statement, I see there's words inserted such as vital rural infrastructure and communication services, and that's the first component. Seems to me that that definition might encompass Verizon again. But can you tell us why this mission statement was rewritten, what your level of dissatisfaction was? It looks to me like some of the things we were concerned about, the expansion and the interpretation of the existing mission statement, might have been encompassed now in the new mission statement.
I would like to say we've remembered your concerns about the mission statement, and I went back to the original act, and I'd like to cite that if I could. The Farm Credit System mission, as stated in the preamble of the Farm Credit Act, to further provide for the farmer-owned cooperative system of making credit available to farmers and ranchers and their cooperatives, for rural residents and to associations and other entities upon which farming operations are dependent, to provide for an adequate and flexible flow of money to rural areas. And so I think it's good if we step back and look at this original statement that is part of what Congress has authorized us to do, and we examine our mission statement in that context.
Well, thank you, but I still don't understand why we have, I've got a 2017 Farm Credit mission statement in front of me that has, in comparison to the previous mission statement, has the words, by financing vital rural infrastructure and communication services. So it looks to me like it's clearly an expansion, and as our clock ticks down, I would just submit to you and to all of you, I do appreciate this service, and I appreciate the capital that's available, but I want to look at this and have more conversations. Perhaps we can have those on the side and get to a better understanding about how to restrain this, because it's a natural thing for all of us to try to do more with what we have. So I'll come back to each of you on this in a way that asks for your input, and I think Congress may want to take a better look at this. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired. Mr.